Hey everybody, so today we're going to talk about some really important things to talk about, because if you deal with customers, you know that they lie. In any sort of service business, you will find that when something goes wrong, a customer will lie because they don't want to pay more money to basically fix something that they've broken after they paid you to fix it. And it's really important to have good procedures and policies in place. It's really important to train your technicians and yourself, of course, how to handle when you get a Karen that doesn't not realize that she broke her phone screen again and your warranty isn't going to cover that. So, first off, if a customer is having bad luck and they're honest with you, that's completely on you if you want to give them a discount. I believe there are a lot of professionals that in the circles that I hang out in that will flat out tell you that that's definitely the best thing to do. I'm going to agree with that, because if somebody's willing to tell me, yeah, I dropped it, it's only been a week, I had bad luck, and they're honest with me about it and they're not trying to get one over on me, okay, cool. I'll sell it to you for, I don't know, parts price. Just pay for the parts and I'll fix it for you. Or whatever discount makes sense. I mean, there are certain things where you don't want to go too low, because let's be honest, if it's like an iPhone 8, that screen is 20 bucks or less, and you should at least try to get $50 if you've got to take your time to open up another phone. And open up that phone again, rather, because it should be the same phone. Again, you want to log the serial number. We talked about this before in another video. That's going to be your biggest protection right there. But so instead of going into that one, we're going to talk about other things that customers do that are really common, that are just completely lies. And you can judge by the name of the video that the Nightstand. So if a customer's, for some reason, this is universal, I don't understand it, I literally have seen everybody that has dealt with any sort of cell phone repair will outright tell you that they've had customers come in and say, I put it on the nightstand and I woke up and it fell to the floor again. And that's, well, that's really unfortunate. It's also really false, because phones don't just fall to the floor. You have to do something to make that go from the top of your nightstand to the floor, let alone to just fall with so much force that it drops. I don't know how tall your nightstand is, but most of the nightstands that I've seen aren't exactly that large, aren't exactly that tall. Like, in order for a phone to really break the screen, and you should have to fall at least 4.5 feet. Something in that range. I mean, don't hold me. I could be wrong, and it might be less, it might be more, but either way, what I'm saying is it's almost always taller than a nightstand, unless they have, even if they have a hardwood floor, even if it's not wood and it's tile, like, or something hard. Like, there's all sorts of non-carpeted floorings that could very well be devastating if you drop a device on it. And that still, if it just falls off of a nightstand, it's the fact that it takes other forces to make it move from that, even if it's simply the cord is in a bad spot and you and your half-blindedness at night because you had to hurry up and wake up to go to pee, you still knock it off, which means that's your responsibility to own up for it. And it's also the same thing if it's a kid's phone and you don't want to pay for your kid's phone again to be repaired. First off, you be a parent, and you should if you literally have your kid with a phone that you bring in for repair and they break it, not even a week later again, then you shouldn't be mad at the cell phone repair shop for saying, well, you'll have to pay for another repair. That's your opportunity to teach your child an important lesson about taking care of their things. I don't care how much you think they need it. They don't need it. Somebody else has a phone. They can use their phone to get a hold of you. And if they don't like that, then they should sit there and think about that, when they're wanting to use their phone to talk to their friends or whatever, because unless they have a job and they're paying for it, then you shouldn't be fixing your kid's phone just because they're clumsy and all the time. And, if you're my customer and you're bringing it in and you pay that every single time, then I'm not going to take an issue because more money for me. But if you come in and you're telling me that, either she dropped it again and it was a complete accident, warranty doesn't cover damage. It only covers a defect. So, I'm sorry, I don't care how bad your luck is. You or a human that was possessing that phone at the time did something that caused it to fall again and become broken. And you have to take responsibility for that. I don't care if it's a $10 part that needs to go on, like in the case of, if it's an old, iPhone 6. I don't care. I'm not going to take my time to take an inventory out and fix your fuck up because you don't know how to take care of your stuff. That's not my problem. That's not my fault. Warranty covers things like if you're having touch issues, if you're having display issues. That's the case of a bad screen. There's other things that some of the newer phones will cause, like possible Apple genuine parts warnings, but those are things that should be discussed before the repair. So that's going to be another thing. That's my next point. You need to set customer expectations. If you're not setting customer expectations prior to the repair, and they come in and complain about something, that's literally your fault for not telling them, and you probably should take care of that issue. So one of the things that you absolutely need to do whenever you check in a device is have a checklist where you check different things while you're checking things in. You make the customer verify. The earpiece works, calling works. Anything that doesn't work or you can't test, like if they bring in a screen that's just completely black and busted, then you don't know the condition of that device, and that checklist should be something that contains a customer signature that says, hey, we couldn't test this because of the condition, so there are no warranties as to any of these things working or not after the repair. Now, I'm not saying you use that as an opportunity to crap on your customer, but you use that to cover your bases, because you're going to have customers that you will fix their phone, you will replace the screen. You yourself tested everything yourself, but because you didn't test it in front of the customer and they didn't see that this worked before versus not working now, there are definitely things that you would need to track. If I work on your phone and I replace the battery, but now all of a sudden your earpiece isn't working, that would genuinely mean that I didn't put the thing back together right. And if we're not logging that, and sometimes what happens with customer bullcrap, they will come in with a device with multiple issues, and their intent is to focus on the most obvious issue, like the screen, but then come back and be like, well, now I can't hear anybody on the phone, and it's like, okay, but if you test all this and you have a checklist beforehand, and you enforce that if we can't test this for you, we're only going to make a best effort attempt to repair things, and you have to pay for any parts, or a discount on the labor rate, because now it turns into like multiple repairs at once, which you should absolutely be offering a discount for multiple repairs. So those are things that you need to document, and a lot of places are really bad about that. I walked into repair shops and let them fix one of my phones. There were no signatures, there were no paperwork, there was nothing. Like, they didn't even get my name. And to me, that goes back to where they're treating a service business like it's a retail shop. And I don't think that they realized that they are setting themselves up for all sorts of trouble, especially legal trouble, because they didn't make the customer acknowledge, yeah, this was a pre-existing issue. Because if I'm checking in a customer's phone and when we do a test call, and that's part of the triage as you're checking devices in, because you should absolutely be charging a bench fee, and part of that bench fee is all this testing. And so it shouldn't be a painless process to check in that device. It should be a very thorough, let's check everything that we can. And if anything that we can't verify right now that this is broken, then we're, we're not going to let you get one on us. And that's going to cover your butt, that's going to cover our butts, and that's going to keep the customer honest. Because if I'm sitting right in front of Karen and I'm showing right now, here's a pre-existing issue, your earpiece isn't working, do you want us to repair that as well, or you wish to leave that unfixed? So that way when they come back after the repair, they're not keen on, oh, well, you broke this. Because people do that. And anyway, those are a couple of the most common things that customers do. There's definitely other things. I could make a whole series of videos. I could interview people that have their shops. And this is just with cell phone repair shops. The same applies to computers. Hey, you fixed this, but now all of a sudden it's not working anymore. And almost always it's an issue of the customer not taking responsibility for their own actions. It used to be you would have a computer from a customer that's got malware and viruses on it, and it would have all sorts of performance issues. It would be slow, and a week or two later, after the customer pays for the repair, they bring it back. They will, oh, it's slow again. Yeah, well, okay, well, here's the expectation. If it's something we did wrong, then we'll fix it. But if it's something where you re-downloaded the same bullcrap, you need to pay us again. And if, again, you set that expectation, and honestly, it got to the point where most decent repair shops flat out weren't honoring any sort of warranties in regards to viruses or malware, because saying the computer's slow again tells me most of the time they re-downloaded the same thing. Now, there could be a hardware failure that got worse, or something that actually failed, especially in the case of spinning drives that may or may not be intermittently slow. Especially if you've not seen that particular computer when it was actually working correctly. No matter how experienced you are with computers, they've got such a variety of processors and hardware combinations that not everything performs as well as it should. There are, in fact, brand new computers that are being sold, even right now, that have horrible specs. They're piss poor computers. They're slow to begin with, and customers find out that they bought a slow piece of crap, and they think that someone like us can do some magic and make it good. And it's like, no, you have to set that expectation. You have to tell them, hey, well, you only paid $299 at Walmart for this thing. It's only got 4 gigs of RAM and a Celeron processor. I don't know what you expect me to do with this, but all we can do is upgrade it, and you're going to want to spend money on parts. So that's one of those things where setting that expectation will cover your hide all the time. And so, anyway, until next time, this is me signing off.